We are back, and Willie football season is over, so we get to do this on Sunday afternoon now.
Yeah, and right at the right time, right?
I mean,
it's getting hot.
Yeah,
hot in the streets.
And it's perfect because there's usually no Sunday night duels. So by now, like, most of the action has concluded. So it's great time not to wait till Monday, and everybody listening gets the show early. Shout out, by the way, everybody. It was a great audience. Numbers were great on YouTube, on Rockfin, on audio for the preview show. So I'm glad everybody loved that. It was, thank God, my prediction. I had a couple people walking back their comments when they were saying Homer Bash, and then got the Shane Van Ness call right, got the Kasich call right. So we're gonna dive into it, but that was a fun duel, fun weekend. We're gonna talk about it all.
Yeah, no, I didn't think there was anything homerish about your picks. Now you took mostly Penn State, and I kind of hedged. I think I took 4 Hawkeyes.
Yep.
But
by the way, I don't think you
ended up being 2.
Yeah, and you literally took the higher ranked guys in all weights. I don't think you're wrong if you're taking the higher ranked guy. It's not that crazy of a pick on either side.
No, listen, I thought Teamer was going to win.
Well, let's do this.
I legitimately, that was my pick.
We're going to dive into Penn State and Iowa in a minute. Before we do that, we just had breaking news in the wrestling world. Dreshaun Ross committing to Oklahoma State. I got to break the news to you because it just happened 20 minutes ago. And I asked if you saw it. You said no. And I got to watch you process it in real time, which was fun.
I thought you were lying. I was in the shower when it happened, apparently. So, yeah, I woke up. I was up all night the night before. Then I did a dual Del Barton and Malvern prep. And then I crashed at 2 p.m. and slept forever. And so I woke up late to the party. I woke up to a million texts that said, "Where's Bo Bassett going?" And then Bash said, "I said, Bash, let's do a show tonight. Let's do it. We'll tape it. It'll go right up. That way, it's ready for everybody Monday morning. We don't have to hustle to get it out." Jumped in the shower, and then Bash says, "Hey, how about Dreshaun?" I thought you were lying. I thought you were lying because you were playing on, "Hey, Bo committed. Also, Dreshaun committed." I'm like, okay, you. But that's a big pool, man. Dreshaun to Okie State. I think it's a great fit. I think Dreshaun's kind of frame and stuff, and the resources they're put around him with, the sort of athleticism that David Taylor brings and preaches, and I think it's a really great fit, a really interesting fit. See really how DT does with his first heavyweight prospect. But, then too, you have to think about Iowa losing him. Iowa sort of missing out on Dreshaun. And it was interesting because the Hawkeye message boards kind of went bonkers. They usually go bonkers after NCAAs, but they went bonkers this week, and there's 1,000 different storylines over, what they could do better, what things are not maximized for them. And one of the topics was that the state of Iowa does not produce the number of blue chippers that they once did, and they have to rely more on out-of-state recruiting. And I think I was a national brand that I don't think that they ever relied on in-state recruiting. I mean, they won a national title the other year, and 5 guys were from Pennsylvania. So I don't know. I mean, the word rely does a lot of heavy lifting in that equation. But my point is, they've always recruited well outside of the state, number one, and number two, they're a national brand that should. I mean, you can't pump your chest that we're Iowa Hawkeye Wrestling and then also say we shouldn't be recruiting nationally. They should be recruiting nationally, and they have, and they do.
Yeah.
That being said, when you have the creme de la creme, when you have the bluest of blue chippers, and I have Dreshaun, I have Dreshaun 3, and that's only because there's two ridiculous prospects in Bassett and Jax Forrest, who won matches at the Olympic team trials, ahead of him. And Dreshaun's been a little dinged up lately. And his overtures that, the possibility that he plays football. But so anyway, yeah, right. I don't think Iowa has to rely on in-state recruits, but you would certainly like to land the Drakes and the Drezarogas and the Dreshans.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, a lot of people, on the other side of the coin, it certainly helps that Penn State's positioned where they're positioned geographically in talent-rich Pennsylvania and close to Jersey and close to Ohio and close to New York. That being said, a lot was made of that, but they rarely have a lot of Penn State, a lot of Pennsylvania natives that are starting. I mean, right now they have, if you don't count, like Lillidahl is from Missouri. His parents still live in Missouri, and Bartlett is really from Arizona. I mean, they only have 2 or 3 in the starting lineup now.
Maybe this is ignorance because I don't follow the recruiting world as much, obviously, as others. But with Keeter too, wouldn't have there been like a year or two overlap where Keeter goes into like 2028? I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that Dreshaun chose to go elsewhere because of any potential overlap with Keeter, because a couple things. So there would have been 1 year overlap. Keeter would have been a senior when Dreshaun's coming out of redshirt. However, number one, we don't know that Ben doesn't play football and go to the draft. Dreshaun made a team. Well, I don't know if he could.
Olympic redshirt.
Well, Ben and Ben could get a Olympic year. He won Junior Worlds. And Dreshaun has time to qualify for that. So anyway, I don't think Dreshaun went elsewhere because there might have been a 1 year overlap, as we can see with everybody getting medicals and getting Olympic years. If he wanted to go to Iowa, they would have figured that out.
It is just one of those things that, like, I was talking to Bashada earlier, because it's like you do start seeing a backlog at different schools, and how does that factor in where, you look at like Penn State next year where you're going to have Levi, and then it's like, okay, do you potentially have Ryder, or does Barr go down? You pull the Marisolas. You got all these different backlogs of talent at the top schools, and you wonder if athletes start to see that and think about it as it happens more. That's why it kind of caught my eye. Again, I don't think obviously I don't think that's the reason he didn't go there. I just
Yeah, number one, I think you acquire the talent and then figure it out. Now, I think it's for the kids to decide. The coaches, what they do is they acquire as much talent as they can and let the kids figure it out.
Yeah.
If the ones that should be worried or like concerned or at least thinking about where do I fit in the lineup is the kids. And if the kids are the ones that should be concerned with that, but or not. Like we see a lot of the Penn State guys, a lot of the narrative is, well, why does everybody go to Penn State? How are they going to get in the lineup? Well, a lot of them don't care. They'll figure it out. A lot of them think to be the guy, I have to make the lineup anyway.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny that we're talking about it because of that topic, because the big storyline this weekend is Angelo, Ferrari, Gabe, Arnold, and thinking through it, this is not a problem for this year. This is a problem in perpetuity.
Well, let's say that.
This problem is Right. I'm just setting it up. This problem is not going away.
Yeah, we're gonna. Well, let's talk one more recruiting thing, and then we'll dive into Penn State, Iowa. Bo Bassett, number one overall recruit in your class of 2026, Big Board, came out today and said he's ready. He's making his decision. His final 7 schools are Iowa, Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Penn State, Rutgers, and Virginia Tech. He's going to be on FRL tomorrow, and then on Tuesday, he's going to be on Flow. Not sure what time yet, making his announcement. I've been talking to him, and I'm excited for him. You know, there's obviously always a lot of speculation when this happens, where you have, you know, it's interesting because I'm seeing a lot of fan bases that are, I don't know if it's reverse psychology, but a lot of fan bases seem to think, oh, we're not getting him. He's going here. You know, it's.
I honestly don't know. I don't know what the reaction has been because I woke up 2 hours ago and
I think what we're gonna do. I was talking to Bo a little while ago, and I'm thinking what we might do is, and by the way, Willie Bo did say what up when I told him we were hopping on the show. I think we're gonna do a live reaction show after he makes his announcement, and I've got Bo lined up to hop on. Because usually the announcement streams are pretty quick. You know, a couple questions, make the announcement, celebrate with your family. But I think this is a big decision, regardless of where he goes. You know, I think this is going to be one of the biggest recruiting announcements in a long time. So, planning on having him on. We're planning to do a live reaction show. The last one was fun. The last live reaction podcast we did was David Taylor at Oklahoma State. So this will be a fun one. But yeah, it's going to be a big week.
It is a big week. I mean, there is a lot to wrap your head around with Dreshaun. And then you have Bo coming up. And, I mean, man, you know, I live this recruiting stuff. That's my –
yeah.
I love it. I love it more than anything. It's like a sport into itself. But you got Dreshaun number 3, and maybe I should try to get Dreshaun on. But then you have Bo, which is – larger than life, right? He's really a transcendent prospect, not only in the sense of his wrestling acumen, but in the sense of marketability. The first mega recruit in the NIL era where, you know, it's not Alabama giving an Escalade to an offensive lineman under the table. It's open, honest, legal, and Bo commands what he commands. And so he's a sort of a pioneer in that aspect. And 2 things. He markets himself well. He's a megastar. He's a walking billboard. And he's
Willie,
a transcendent talent.
I don't know. I'm sure some of it is simply because of you have so many fan bases that are courting him. But he is just, I mean, I put up the graphic on Baschamania that he's making his decision Tuesday. We collabed on a post, and it's got like 15,000 likes in a couple of hours. You know, his engagement is through the roof. I'm very, very curious to see what happens after he makes the announcements. Do fan bases stick around? I'm sure there's a lot of people following him because they want to know, hey, are we still in it? And I'm very curious what happens.
A lot of the let's say this about Bo and some of those poo-pooers. Oh, we don't like the long list, and we don't like the cutting out of programs, and we don't like the self-marketing. Hey, put it in your pipe, because guess what? He's doing it in February. All right? He didn't draw it out. I mean, you know, He could have strung it out. If he was all about the marketing, he could have strung it out much longer.
Yeah, and so I think it's awesome that he's making the decision. I'm excited. It's going to be a mega storyline, regardless of where he goes. There's going to be a lot to talk about. So we are planning a Tuesday. We don't know what time I'll try to find out with him what time he's going on Flow to make that announcement. It's not an FRL. I saw a couple people putting on a graphic that it's going to be tomorrow on FRL. It's not. He's going on FRL Monday to talk, but then Tuesday he's making the announcement, and I don't know what time, but
Yeah,
we'll kind of be on standby. So
and just wait. There's indications on what the choice is, but we'll just let Bo
yeah,
do his thing.
I've no desire to take that spotlight from him. It's tough, man. This sport is tough because, and we're going to talk about media and transparency yet again with Penn State, Iowa. But even like, I was at Penn State for the duel. I guess this is a good segue. I was at Penn State for the duel, and it's always great to be back in that room. I got a lot of clients, a lot of friends in there, and it was great to see Aaron Brooks, talk to him for a little bit, and he told me he's not going to the ranking series. And he told me why, and I don't really want to disclose it. That's kind of up to him. But I did one of the overseas accounts, Iranians, was talking about the ranking series. And I said, he was saying how 16 people are going, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, 15, Brooks isn't going. And it's like immediately everybody asked me why. What's up? Why? What's up? And I get it. Like, I'd want to know too. It's just I feel like it's not my place to say more than no, he's not going, just to manage expectation, because I've been kind of talking about ranking series, and I don't want.
Well, I feel your feels because it's with Bo too. Let Bo make his decision. It's with AB. He has his reasons why he is or isn't going. It's with, and frankly, it's with this week's biggest story with Gabe Arnold. I mean, there's more going on than what people know, and you take the information that you have and you make assessments, and you can't blame me, or you can't blame this guy, you can't blame whoever for making assessments on the information that's available. But there is other stuff going on sometimes, and on one hand,
let's dive into the duel, because there's a couple weights where this is going to come up and we're going to talk about it. So we'll start the duel. First of all, Penn State wins by 22. They cash the 21.5 point line, which is crazy because it comes out that Kurt McHenry is going out instead of Braden Davis. Angelo Ferrari is going out instead of Gabe Arnold. Like, all of a sudden, you have these lineup changes right away, and it's funny because still the line was spot on. So right out of the gate, we had Luke Lillidahl, who, what a performance. That place was erupting as he was scoring points. He gets the Tech 22-6 over Joey Cruz.
Yeah, well, the backdrop there was that Luke has been wrestling, a lot of closest matches, to the extent that I said, yeah, he could be a title contender, but he could also be a blood round guy, in the sense that they wrestle a lot of close matches. And then Luke takes his first loss of the year and loses to Dean Peterson and doesn't score a point, or doesn't score an offensive point. And at the same time, you had Joey Cruz beating Nicolas Rivera and Nicolas Rivera beating Dean Peterson. So we have Lillidahl Cruz, and the expectation, I think, from most people that, okay, I'll take Lillidahl, and maybe it'll be like 8-4 or something like that, right? And I said in the preview show that I do think Lillidahl will score a couple points, or score a couple takedowns, because Cruz is active and aggressive, and it's not going to be a patty cake match. And that was indeed the case, but it was well more than that. Luke looked fantastic. He put up a ton of points.
Yep. And then right after that, so right away I had people texting me saying they're asking questions. There's a lot of weigh-ins because Penn State puts out probables and had an alternate at 25 and 33. Maybe even one more at a weigh, I can't remember. And so right away we have Kurt McHenry come out for Penn State, and the Iowa fans instantly, Braden's ducking. I'm so sick of it, and I almost tweeted it after the Gabe match, that it's like we have a pandemic in wrestling right now that if anybody ever doesn't wrestle, it's a duck. Automatically, it's a duck. Nobody's banged up. Nobody's sick. Nobody's going through something. Nothing. Everything's a duck. And
yeah, but the context of that too, and they're being disingenuous and just trying to give the business back. The context of that was, we knew before the duel started that Gabe Arnold wasn't wrestling. We knew that he didn't weigh in. Big Ten Network said it before the duel. And so the wrestling world, including Penn State fans, said duck, duck, duck. Okay? So when Davis didn't take the mat, that was Iowa giving the business back. So there is a little bit of context there. And, last week when Drake didn't wrestle somebody, Drake didn't wrestle somebody last week. I said, it's not a duck. Don't be an idiot. Drake's a freaking warrior. He has Penn State next week. He a little dinged up. It's not as dinged up. It's like maintenance. It's something that he always deals with, and it's okay to take a match off against a guy. By the way, he's super favored over. It's not duck. Don't stop being. So I came to Drake's defense not because I want to come to Drake's defense, because it's a freaking right answer. And so then don't accuse Braden Davis of ducking. Braden ain't ducking.
Well, then it was funny because
but he's dealing with something.
And then it was funny because today Drake didn't wrestle against Maryland. And it's like, guys, they're not. Listen, there are ducks in wrestling. There's also, you got to use common sense. And just because somebody doesn't wrestle every match, I don't care what program it is. I said this about Gabe Arnold, I said this about Braden Davis, and we'll talk about Gabe in a minute. But yeah, the ducking.
Yeah,
stuff
they don't know what duck means. They don't know what duck means. So Drake, and you talk about the line. Luke putting up bonus, and then Drake putting up bonus. Sort of offset.
Yeah, right? Not just bonus, tech.
Right, so because we kind of figured Lillidahl win by decision and Drake will win by decision, but they both won by tech, and so for the spread, it kind of was a stalemate.
Yeah. And then we have Bo Bartlett over Colin Shrevert, 7-3. Pretty
interesting. I mean, it's not the most star-studded topic. It's not the most neon light topic to talk about, but it's interesting. It's interesting that it was Colin Shrevert. There's been a little bit of lineup decision. Who's the starter at 141? Ryder Block. Really, really talented, but it's quite a pull for him, and he hasn't had the early results that maybe you were looking for from a guy with his resume, but I think maybe eventually he'll get there at a 49. But whatever the case is, it's interesting, Jace Rhodes, Colin Shrevert, Ryder Block at 41, and sort of a workmanlike Bo Bartlett win, right? Nothing flashy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it got really exciting. Shane Van Ness over Kyle Parko. Majors him 17-6, put on an absolute performance.
Yeah, and it was great. It was great. That match was awesome because we had 3 matches that were okay, these are neat. Now we have an awesome premier matchup. I don't know, what is it, 2 versus 3, 2 versus 4?
Yeah, 2 versus 4, I think.
And they come out and they exchange takedowns, and now it's all right, this duel started here, let's go. And then Van Ness, a takedown, went to work, scored a lot of points, not caught, but got a set a near fall on Parko, and then it was all Van Ness. I think, what was the final score, 18-6?
17-6.
17-6. So awesome job by Van Ness, who I don't want to say has his number, but 2 things can be true. Shane can be very, very good against anybody and also have Parko's number. But I think that's 3-0 now, right? Van Ness over Parko 3.
Yeah, it's 2 years in a row. He beat him at the duel, and then he beat him at the All-Star Classic, was it too?
And, it was at this time that I started thinking about Big Ten seeds. So it looks as if, on one hand, it's sort of clear if in 2 weeks Lovett beats Parko, then Lovett's your 1, Van Ness, Parko 2, 3, probably. If Parko wins, then you got, I don't know. Then you got, I don't know.
Then it gets interesting. But I mean, kind of as I predicted, where listen, these guys are both very good. Parko has the edge, or Shane Van Ness has the edge, and he's continued that. Now 3-0.
Parko, I believe he must get a new tattoo every day. I mean, he just comes out with more tattoos every time.
I don't know if it's a coincidence of the COVID years and guys sticking around longer, but more wrestlers have more tattoos than ever.
Well, I don't think that Shane Van Ness even has one. It was interesting.
I think. Bo Bassett's got like a quarter sleeve. He's got like his whole shoulder. So I mean, in the high school,
Rocco Welch had a full sleeve before he graduated high school.
Bo might as well, or Bo might too. I mean, all right. So then we got Tyler Kasich manning Ja'Cory Teamer, beat him 5-2, struck a pose at the end.
Oh, that was iconic, wasn't it? That's going to go up there all time. So if you didn't see, I'm sure you saw, but a couple seconds left, and Kasich was kind of rear standing and held up a fist, held Teamer with one arm and held up a fist, and that spawned a thread on Penn State of like the most memorable images in recent memory in Penn State, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, now Parco seemed to fade second half of the match. It like
we gotta get rid of that dip. We gotta get rid of that dip addiction, Willie.
I know. Why anybody watches me during the show, I don't know. Just listen to me. It's not a pretty sight anyway. But Parco did fade a little bit, and Parco doesn't have a history of fading. He doesn't have a history of any gas tank issues whatsoever. But it reminded me the night before I was at the Del Barton Blair duel, and Del Barton had never beat Blair, and they have another shot and to win it this year. And this was the fourth year in a row. This was the fourth. How about this? Josh Lowe text me. This was the fourth year in a row that Del Barton Blair came down in the final match. Came down to winner take all. Winner last match wins a duel. So I'm actually at the time I'm sitting with Brad Dillon, one of my favorite assistant coaches. Brad Dillon is assistant head coach at Lehigh. And I said, Brad, you know what? Great wrestling, but I see a lot of like early flurries, and there's a lot of points. And then like the second half of the matches, I said, this has been consistent. The second half of the match, it slows down, and what you think looks like is going to be a major ends up being a regular decision. And he was like, Will, you wrestled in big matches. You wrestled in giant duels in high school. These are high school kids, and there's a lot of nerves, and they go out there and they burn everything. And so on Saturday night, I kind of flashed back to that, where Parco looked pretty good and pretty energetic until the second half of that match.
Yeah, and my thought for picking Kasich truly wasn't Penn State bias. That was Teamer's fifth match all year, and Kasich is as well conditioned as they come, and it was very likely going to come down to that. And sure enough, it did.
Yeah,
and
I thought that my thoughts going in were that Kasich would have a hard time finishing on just how strong. I mean, you remember going back to like Brayton Lee Ja'Cory days. And Brayton Lee's so much of a hoss, and he's big, and he's I don't know, a lot of people have a hard time finishing on Ja'Cory with his size and strength and athleticism. And I thought that would be a key for Kasich, but it turned out he got it done.
And then it did get interesting now, because today you had Maryland, Iowa, and Iowa sits, which I had said this is going to be a great rebound potential match for Teamer because of the fact that I forgot. I'm drawing a blank on who he.
Ethan Miller.
Yeah, Ethan Miller, who's 16-0 on the year, and he's ranked he's ranked in the top 10, so it would have been a great rebound match. But Iowa did have Estrada in the probables, and sure enough, Estrada goes out today, which now you burn Estrada's red shirt, and then you got the Iowa fans that are kind of split, like what's Brands doing. And Wrestling Pirate also said Iowa has 4 matches left, with Teamer's matches against Taylor, Askey, Chumbley, and Fish. Teamer needs to wrestle at least 3 of them and win all that he wrestles to earn an allocation.
He only has 5. He only has 5 matches wrestled.
Yeah.
And so, just like I was saying about the situation for Big Ten seedings at 49, at 157, you have Kasich, the clear leader. He is undefeated. He has a win over Teamer. Ethan Miller is undefeated at 16-0, although he doesn't have a whole lot of premier wins. He did beat Joey Blaze. And so Ethan Miller with 2 matches coming up, Teamer and Kasich, to kind of make his case, but he didn't get the opportunity to wrestle Teamer. He will, projected, have a shot at Kasich. Other matches, I think, are Antrell and Blaze, Antrell and Teamer, Askey and, I don't know, Blaze, I think. So that's the situation at 57. But, it goes back to that thing, and I'm not being critical of Iowa here for not wrestling Teamer. I'm not saying, Teamer ducked and this is BS. What I'm saying is, when it comes to seeding, you got to give the guy that took the mat the benefit of the doubt.
100%.
And I've been screaming this for 2-3 years now. It's not difficult. They designate starters for the coaches' ranking. You can designate starters for the purposes of dual meets and ducking and sitting. If your designated starter is Ja'Cory Teamer, and Ja'Cory Teamer does not take the mat against Ethan Miller, then for seeding purposes, maybe not on your career record, maybe not on your official record, but for seeding purposes, it goes down as some kind of blemish on Teamer and a plus for Miller. I mean, that's 100%. Just the way it should be done. I don't know how anybody can disagree with that. I don't know what the rationale would be for disagreeing with that. You want to encourage participation. You don't want to let down the fans, and you want to reward taking the mat. Absolutely. And so why not?
Absolutely. And that's the frustrating thing too, where it's like, you have, again, it goes back to marketing, and it's also like, I was tweeting people today where it's like, listen, no matter what, you're going to have people, this is sports, you're going to have people critiquing decisions coaches make no matter what happens. It doesn't hurt or it doesn't help when you have no transparency, when you don't kind of, and like Brand's, he's not the best PR guy. After the Arnold and Ferrari debacle, he said, we have 5 dates for Ferrari, we're going to use them, or we're not going to use them against cupcakes. I don't know that that's what I would say, but at least it was some kind of information as to why Ferrari wrestled, and he did tell us Gabe's the guy in the postseason. So, again,
before we get there, because that's a giant segment, and I agree with you on the PR front, but I don't understand Estrada. Like, maybe, I guess, if you go to Estrada and you say, hey, we can use you. We could really use you, but you're going to lose your eligibility. And Estrada says, I don't care. I want to wrestle. Then I guess, I don't know. That's your prerogative. It's up to you, but it does not make one bit of sense to me to burn a year of eligibility into a really good prospect in a duel you're favored by 25.
I know it doesn't. And the thing, it was weird that they sat Gabe because Tom said he wants to load manage him, which again we'll talk about in a minute. But you wrestle the better guy for Teamer, and then sit him against the lesser opponent, and then you do the opposite with Arnold.
Yeah, I mean, Ja'Cory's coming off a torn hamstring. You don't want to load management him?
Yeah. Against the better guy. Again, like you said, like, we got 5 days, we're not going to use him against cupcakes. It was kind of surprising that they're not doing the same thing.
Yeah, because Tom's not telling you the whole story, and nor should he, and I respect him for that. But the Estrada thing, I just don't get. 165 Mesenbrink. You look at Mesenbrink's full ledger, and you see tech, 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 tech. He's teched every single match this year. I don't think he's given up a takedown or an offensive point, and okay, but he hasn't wrestled a guy like Caliendo, who's clearly number 2, and Mesenbrink just rolls him up. It was incredible. You have to think Mesenbrink's at the top of the conversation for the Hodge.
Yeah, we were texting about it in the group chat, and we both put a tweet out, kind of unknowing the other one did. And it's like, I mean, I thought about that most of the day, even driving home, and like it's crazy because number 1 versus number 2, that is by far and away the biggest gap right now, where a 1 techs the number 2. On the other hand, it's like it's going to be interesting where it's like, hey, Gable's also doing that, but if he doesn't tech everybody, but he beats a returning national champ, does that have more weight? Or does Carter getting number 5, how much weight does that have? You know, Carter's clearly going to have less bonus, it seems, than these guys. We talked about it last week that, you know, Carter wrestles some of these better guys a little bit closer. So, I mean, Mesenbrink to be undefeated with nothing but techs, knocking up a takedown all year, absolutely has to be a front runner. And then from there, it's like...
I mean, Mesenbrink would be my vote right now.
But a lot of it depends on what happens the rest of the year. What if Gable techs out? What if Carter gets number 5, and how does he do it? Like, listen, the fact that I tweeted this, the fact that Carter and Yanni have a combined 8 NCAA titles and 0 Hodge trophies is bananas.
Mm-hmm.
That's bananas.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly.
And by the way, for the Gable people too, does it hurt him that he already has 2 Hodge trophies?
Why would it hurt?
Well, it's like, let's say Mesenbrink and Gable both.
I think that the voters are pretty good in compartmentalizing, generally speaking. I think that the voters are pretty good in saying, I don't care that he has 2 Hodges, therefore let's give somebody else 1. I think they say, let's look at this, let's look at the stats, let's look at the context, and let's vote for who had the best year.
It is crazy too, because normally I would say that if you have such a low match count like he does, he's only I think 7-0, but his 3 seasons that he went undefeated, 2 of which he won the Hodge, he was 17-0, 17-0, 15-0. He's right on pace for what he does match count his other Hodge winning seasons.
True, but you have to also look at who else were the candidates in those seasons.
No, totally. And that's where, again, I think this year is also very unique in the sense that we have 4 weights with 2 returning national champs. That's crazy.
You know, it's who had the best, who had the most dominant season, not who is the best wrestler. You know, so
when Gable won his last one, the other candidates were Yanni and Nick Lee. And then when he won the year before that, he split it with Spencer Lee. And they basically had everybody who was undefeated as a finalist. Spencer, Gable, Carr, Roman, Aaron, O'Connor.
Not to bring up that heat, but I was okay with the split. Everybody lost their minds. How can there be a split? One guy's more dominant than the other. Come on. We're talking about splitting hairs and 2 prodigious talents and utterly, utterly dominant years. I'm fine with it.
And the only guy who has 3 Hodge trophies went 159-0 and getting it, which is pretty damn impressive.
I mean, there is no doubt about it that heavyweight's deeper than 65, but
65 on paper might be one of the weakest weights. If you look at the gap between 1 and 2 and the gap between 2 and the rest, where it's like Caliendo, we've been talking about it all year. He's been destroying guys left and right. And then he goes out there and gets destroyed by Mesenbrink, where it's like, man, what a clear gap, 1 versus 2. And again, you have to look at the fact that when you have 4 of the other 9 weights have 2 returning national champs, that definitely plays and it has to be taken into consideration.
Yep. All right. Levi and Patrick Kennedy, and um, I thought that PK had a really good shot at a takedown there early. Um, I I almost not sure how he didn't get the takedown. I will say that, like, don't go all crazy on me here, because ultimately it didn't matter and it wouldn't have mattered. But I thought that they called stalemate. Why did they call stalemate? I don't understand why
I
they
don't
called
remember.
stalemate. I know. I bet you a lot of people don't remember, because it turned out to be a non-issue and a kind of lopsided win for Levi. But PK has Levi in trouble he didn't finish. He didn't finish. And I understand that part of the stalemate, but he is really close, and they call stalemate. And they go neutral, and Levi does what he does, and he makes it a non-issue. He makes it clear on the scoreboard who won the match. But I thought that was a goofy stalemate. I also think the Starocci stalemate on Ferrari was stupid with 7 seconds to go or 10 seconds to go. Like, what are you doing? He has a single leg. And you standing single, and you're calling a stalemate or a well, I don't know what you're calling.
I
I
will
don't know.
say, I will say, and people might disagree with this. Live sports are better to watch on TV. There is an aspect of being there that is so fun, and this I was talking to
Yeah.
fellers about it. The crowd, the Penn State crowd, has really over the past decade has really grown, and the excitement, obviously the winning no doubt plays into that, but that place was absolutely electric, and it is so fun being there. But there's also something about the fact that you can't, like, the number of times I
See a
find myself
replay.
like watching a replay or rewinding it and going back, like, man, watching even like it's hard in the arena to like live tweet and stuff. It's tough. Yeah, I want to go back and rewatch the whole duel.
I did. There's certain wrestling events that get me so wound, like NCAA semis, NCAA finals, Olympics, and big duels like this, where I was so wound after that duel, and there were so many angles, and Twitter and message boards were lighting up, and I couldn't go to sleep. And so I rewatched the whole duel, and that's actually when I caught. That's actually when I caught some of these little details. But yeah, I thought, you know, I'm not saying, oh, if PK gets that takedown, it's a different match, or I'm not making excuses for PK. But I did think that was an early stoppage. But Levi doing what he does, and he gets the win. And so now at this point, it's 6 matches to 1 for Penn State, and we're going into 84, which we
5-1. No, 6-1.
5,
You're right. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
and then we're going into 84, which we know we're not going to get Gabe, and we see Angelo Ferrari, who wrestled a terrific match,
Yep,
valiant effort, but I put out a tweet where I don't know if we were watching the same match. If I was watching the same match as a lot of people, because listen, a valiant effort for a true freshman, standing there toe to toe with Carter and not giving up a score. However, a lot of the narrative, and maybe I shouldn't be talking about it because maybe it's just a bunch of biased. But it wasn't just a bias, guys. It was the Penn State fans too, saying how great Angelo looked, and even guys that were objective and not a fan of Penn State or Iowa, saying how good Ferrari looked. And he looked good. He looks the part. He looks like a future problem for the rest of the country, a guy that could win national titles. However, to call the match close, I mean, I don't think it was close. I just don't think it was close. The entire match was wrestled on the edge. Coming into the duel, I said Starocci will cut off the mat, force Gabe Arnold to the edge. And it wasn't Gabe Arnold, but that's what he did. That's what he did to Angelo, precisely what he did to Angelo. And I think that Carter Starocci is the best guy I've ever seen in folk style at safe forward pressure, not bully, not being a bully about it, not going 90 miles an hour, but slow, methodical positioning and spacing and working you to the edge and putting pressure on you. He's the best I've ever seen do it. And he did it routinely to Angelo, and they were on the edge of the mat the entire time. Carter was in on a shot several times. Angelo able to fight it off and cause a couple of scrambles. The one was stalemated or potentially dangerous. I don't know what it was. And Angelo got in, I think, 2 different times. But getting in on Carter and finishing are 2 different things. We saw Silas Allred 2 weeks ago get in deep as hell, and Carter just stonewall him. And so I thought that Angelo showed a lot. I did not think that it was a particularly close match. I mean, listen, the same thing with Keckeisen in the All-Star Classic. Close match on the scoreboard. I didn't think it was a particularly close match. I mean, I thought Carter stalked. And so, yes, it was a very encouraging performance that pretends to a really threatening high podium placement guy in Angelo. But I did not think I did not think Carter was particularly threatened.
Yeah, I think it was a good match for both of them. I think Ferrari, as a true freshman, wrestled one of the best, if not the best guy in the sport right now, a very close match. And I thought Carter wrestled smart. He obviously showed respect for Angelo. He was wrestling a methodical match. You hit the nail on the head with Carter last week when you were predicting it, and, we thought it was going to be Arnold. You actually scoffed at the idea of Ferrari, but you said he wrestles good guys in close matches. It's just,
Well, I scoffed at the idea of Ferrari because it makes absolutely zero sense.
You want to talk about that?
On the surface. No, I do, 100%. It's the biggest story in wrestling right now. But one last thing about the final results and the talk. I've never seen this before. Everybody said, a ton of people said on message boards, in the actual Iowa press release, Piles said it in a monologue. What was the score of the match, Justin?
3-1.
It was 3-1. Go look at the press release, the box score that Iowa put out. It says 2-1. Go look at a lot of the message boards. It says 2-1. Look at a lot of the comments. It said Starocci won on a BS stall call. No, he didn't. He won on a riding time point. Take the stall point away. I never saw people respond with that's wrong. The match was not 2-1. Anyway.
Yeah, it was 3-1.
Now, let's talk about Gabe calling his shot for the second time, really, calling his shot, and then not taking the mat. Angelo, and I'm not saying that it was Gabe's call, and Angelo taking the mat. And the barking that Penn State fans and every even non-invested fans, non-Penn State fans, oh, that's BS. Well, listen, I love Gabe. I love him with all my heart. But when you, any walk of life, whether it's MMA or wrestling or football or this or that, you make a proclamation, you call your shot, and then you don't compete, you're going to get the heckling. You're going to get the business. And Gabe got the business. There was a video out there of Gabe walking back through the tunnel before the 184-pound match. And you don't know, the caption of the video is Gabe couldn't stand to watch Gabe couldn't stand to not compete. Who knows if that was the case? There's other people saying that what really happened was Penn State fans were heckling him. There's other people saying Gabe was jawing back to the Penn State fans. Now, who knows what happened? Who knows what the real deal is? But, the Penn State fans are over the top sometimes, and Iowa fans are over the top sometimes.
I think wrestling fans are over the top sometimes.
And Eagles fans are certain fan bases are over the top sometimes. And I don't agree with it. I think, have a little more class. Don't just badger the opponent to the sake of being not classy because he's the opponent. But
we also don't even know that was true. So.
This is a case where Gabe called his shot. So he's going to get what he gets.
What?
On the topic of why? There's two things going on here. On the surface, you have the information that you have, okay? And that information is you have a highly ranked wrestler in Gabe Arnold who's a freshman who has 20 career matches, and he hasn't hit a lot of top guys. And he calls his shot in a press conference. And then he doesn't go. And you opt for another highly ranked freshman, or highly regarded freshman, that's by all indications going to stay in redshirt. So why on God's green earth would you use the guy that's going to stay in redshirt versus the guy that has to go through this number one ranked guy? Makes no sense. It's very, very obvious, or it should be obvious, that when you're a talented up-and-comer and you're ranked 5th or 6th in the country and you've never got a crack at 1 or 2 or 3, it should be very obvious that it will benefit you to get your hands on and feel for the guy that is 1 or 2 or 3. Whether you get majored, whether you get outclassed, whatever the case may be, whatever the ultimate result is, it is better for you to take that opportunity and get a feel for a guy. But they don't do it, and they go with Angelo, and then your mind starts to wonder if it is indeed going to be Angelo in the postseason. And then Tom comes out and says, Gabe is our guy going forward. So you're back to square one. What the hell? Why? It does absolutely no good. You clearly were not in a position to win the duel. You're not winning the duel. The duel's over. So you can take one of the options. Well, maybe they thought that Angelo was better in this situation. He could steal a match from Starocci and help them win the duel. The duel was
Brand's kind of shot that one down. He came out and said, we're load managing Gabe. We got 5 dates for Ferrari. We're going to use them, and we're not going to use them against Cupcake. So he came out and said away after.
I'm talking about the linear. I'm talking about the timeline, right? Gabe, I'm coming for heads. That was earlier. That was last week. Then weigh-ins. Gabe doesn't weigh in. Iowa puts out it's going to be Angelo. So everybody in the country is doing this math. Why? What? How? Okay? So then Angelo goes, and you're saying, okay, well, the only reason this could make any bit of sense is because Angelo might be the guy going forward. Then Tom comes out, and he says, Ferrari, tough matches, no cupcakes. For Gabe Arnold, load management. Gabe Arnold, our guy going forward. So tell me how any of it makes sense. It doesn't make sense on the information that we are given. Load management, you're going to load manage a guy that has 11 matches this year? You're going to load manage a guy that has 20 career matches? Don't make sense. We're giving Ferrari the opportunity to get tough matches. How does that prepare? You're going to give Ferrari the opportunity to wrestle tough matches to prepare him for next year? How does giving Ferrari tough matches prepare Gabe for a month from now?
Yeah,
that's not the best. That's not the best course of action to prepare Gabe Arnold for the postseason. And so none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. But I'm going to say this. I understand what Tom's doing, and there's more to the story than anybody knows. Well, you don't know what you don't know. And while all of this from Tom comes out as conflicting, not making much sense, you don't know what you don't know. And there's other situations going on, and Tom is basically willing to protect his guys and willing to say stuff that he even knows is not going to pass the mustard.
Yeah.
Okay? And so there's other stuff going on, and Tom's willing to say what he has to say, even if it comes off of him looking disingenuous, to protect his guys.
I think a couple things. Number one, with the initial Gabe calling his shot, I honestly really didn't care about that. My only thing was, that's fine. I think in MMA you have a lot of that. I think in wrestling, I think we should have more of that. Call your shot, hype up your next opponent, whatever. That is what it is. As long as everything's fine after the match, then I'm okay with it. But I agree with you in the sense that if Gabe Arnold is going to do that and then not wrestle, he's going to have to deal with the repercussions. I by no means, and it's very clear now that this wasn't Gabe ducking Carter. I believe Gabe wanted that match. If you don't think Gabe wanted that match, you should probably check your pulse. Gabe obviously wanted that. But I do think, and again, this goes back to the 33 thing. This epidemic or pandemic, whatever the hell it is, of people thinking people are ducking people. It's like, listen, it's so annoying. And there is. I've heard a lot of the speculation as to what's likely going on with Gabe. And it's like, man, these are young guys young adults turning into men. This is a season of development. And at times, it's like, you do got to kind of like, the people on Twitter running their mouth sometimes, I'm like, do you have kids? Do you have relationships? Do you have people that you care about their well-being? To a degree, it's like, man, chill out. Gabe obviously didn't do himself any favors.
Well, when you say Gabe, when you say Gabe obviously wanted the match, if Gabe obviously wanted the match, if that is true, then why didn't Tom give it to him?
I agree. And Ben Askren said something very similar. He said he doesn't buy the notion that Gabe doesn't want the match because this is Ben Askren's theory, if Gabe really wants that match, he walks into Tom Brand's office and says, "Coach, I want this match. Give me Carter," and he wrestles. Again, it's one of those things where...
Yeah, but why would it even be a notion? Why would Tom Brand even have an inkling, even have the thought of his mind is maybe we shouldn't wrestle our starter? In our biggest duel of the year, one of our prize prospects, we got this guy in recruiting. It was a big deal for us to get a guy of this nature, a guy of this talent. Gabe Arnold, really talented, made a junior world team finals, beat an All-American last year, had a fantastic year. This year he's undefeated. Here comes our biggest duel. He has a test, the guy he's going to have to go through to reach his goal. And Tom Brands thinks to himself, maybe we shouldn't wrestle him. What goes into that?
No, I agree. It's again, it's one of those things that too, it does stink that, like you said, I agree with you. I think Brands is not good at PR. And he said things that seem like he's kind of covering for his guy, which I respect that.
He is.
But at the same time...
And I respect him for it, too.
But at the same time, it's like, there is a degree of like, well, if you leave so much to fans' minds, there is going to be that speculation, that talk.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I sort of respect it or I do respect it, because he knows this isn't going to pass the mustard. He knows this isn't he knows when he gives conflicting stuff that people are going to see right through it and be critical of it, and he's still willing to do it to protect what's really going on behind the scenes, and that's why I respect it. But on the surface, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and Gabe did. I thought and this is maybe just. I thought maybe again, this is probably more optimism. I thought maybe Gabe would put a statement out. I thought maybe, as I preach for transparency and wanting communication, I thought it would have been cool if Gabe put a statement out, and then I saw he deactivated his Twitter. So, like, man, this guy's going through it. Whatever it is, like...
Yeah, well, that's another thing. I mean, if I could counsel, and maybe I will, stop worrying about social media. I mean, Gabe's obviously worrying about it too much. He had a press conference a couple weeks ago where he said, at the end of the day, we're putting on a show, we're performers, this and that. And then he has a press conference where he says, I'm taking heads. And then he gets ridiculed and criticized on message boards and Instagram and Twitter for not taking the mat. And then he shuts down his accounts. No, you know what? You're not a performer, Gabe. You're an athlete that has goals, and your goals shouldn't be to entertain the fans, and your goals shouldn't be to hype up the fans, and your goals shouldn't be to be praised or criticized by the fans. Your goal is to hit your goals. Your goal is to make the podium, and so stop listening to all the static. Stop listening to all the noise. It's obviously getting to you, so stop worrying about it.
He should call wrestling mindset. Those guys are doing great things. Mindset and staying focused. So then today we did see Gabe Arnold. He was in action against Maryland, and he got the 2-1 win over Jackson Smith in tiebreakers.
Good win. Jackson Smith's the guy I have right in the thick of things for the podium.
And the next four, I put out the graphic, like the next four duels, Gabe Arnold or Angelo Ferrari, this weekend has Silas Allred, who I'm looking at WrestleStats, which is using their rankings. Silas Allred ranked 9th. Next weekend, he's got Max at Minnesota, which is ranked 4th. Then he's got some dude from Northwestern who's in the hundreds. And then Dustin Plott, who's ranked 3rd. So, like, there's...
Yeah.
3 out of those next 4 matches are going to be...
I hope he wrestles all of them. I mean, he is clearly at this tier where he's in the conversation.
Yep.
It's not... He's still a freshman, right? And so you have to prove yourself. He's proved himself in the AA conversation. But now you got to get a feel for these guys, and you're better off round 2 than you are round 1. You're better off wrestling Plott twice in the duel and maybe in NCAA quarters. There's going to come a time where he's in the NCAA quarters, and if he doesn't wrestle these matches, he's going to be facing these guys for the first time.
Well,
so you want to be prepared. Now, again... So I hope they give him all the rest. I hope the dust settles and Tom says, you know what? Let's get you focused. Let's get you back. See in 2020. And you're gonna hit McAnally, you're gonna hit Plott, and you're gonna hit these guys. But looking down the road, and not everybody's eyes are fixed. They're fixed in the here and now, and I get that. But looking down the road, this is not a last year problem. This was a problem last year, okay? Because everybody, including myself, wanted Gabe to go. There's not a problem last year. There's not a problem this year. It was a problem both years, and it's a problem going forward. This is not a now thing. This is a logjam for a while, because
Is Nelson Brands done, by the way?
I know somebody asked me like, how come nobody asked where Nelson is? And my answer was, because we ain't getting an answer. Who are we gonna ask? They ain't telling us.
He got a tech in the Iowa-Princeton duel like the first week of December. We haven't seen or heard from him or about him since.
I know. You think
Crazy.
there would be some news. But so last year you had Franek and PK and Gabe and on and on and on. This year you have and Nelson. This year you have Angelo and PK and Nelson and Gabe. And next year they're all back, and Caliendo, and they have Ludington coming in. What's the plan there? Right? Because next year, for 3 weights, they're going to have Caliendo, PK, Gabe, and Angelo. Somebody's the odd man out again. And so we're going to have this problem next year.
Yeah. Does that conclude your thoughts? Should I move on here? Nope, it doesn't.
And, I like that they got Ludington. I love Ludington. Love them. But before they had Ludington, my thought process was, man, everybody's leaving 97 next year. I mean, everybody leaves 84 too. But everybody's leaving 97 as well. Build Angelo up into a 97, right? Then you got Caliendo, PK, Gabe, Angelo. But they're obviously not going to do that because they got Ludington now, and Angelo kind of, I don't know, he's sort of like planted a flag that I'm going 84, and now it seems like Gabe and PK are going to, I mean, can Gabe go back down to 74? Again, with the PR stuff and just the narrative and what we know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. Gabe commented to me, Willie, I'm a 74 pounder. But then the next year he goes up where there's a log jam. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Buchanan Bar.
Tough
again, Bar. I thought it was a lot like Angelo Starocci, and I guarantee you don't agree with that.
No,
but
listen, the match went exactly how I thought it would go, with just, a low scoring match with a takedown being the difference. I thought Barr could muscle through at the end and get the takedown and end up being Buchanan. It was a great win for Buchanan, great match for Barr. It's his biggest match of his career. I think it's and I talked to Barr, he wasn't too down on himself. It's like, listen.
But there again. Barr's going to wrestle Buchanan again, probably, right?
You had said this to me. We were on the phone. It's almost a guarantee when you drive home from an event like this. I'm sure you do the same thing. It's 3.5 hours to get home. My phone calls went like you, Chenzo, Bashada. It's all wrestling talk for 3.5 hours. Yeah. And that was one thing you're like, Justin, the biggest thing to me about Gabe not wrestling Carter is, as a coach, you should want that matchup. And Barr is better off for wrestling Buchanan and towing the line. And I said, Willie, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, Barr, I thought, wrestled a good match. I don't think he was close to winning. I think two things can be true. He can wrestle a good match and also kind of not be close to winning. And another thing can be true is that the next time he wrestles him, he has a greater chance to win that match because he wrestled that one.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, stock's still up on Barr. Stock's still up on Buchanan, who passed another test. Um, yeah, yeah. I think both guys benefited from that.
Yeah, and Buchanan now, it's like again, this 97 Big 10, like we're going to have Buchanan and Cardenas and Barr and all these guys, Isaiah Salazar, Camden McDaniel, a lot of good Big 10 guys in 97. So we're going to see it at Big 10s. And listen, Buchanan is awesome. I wish we knew where Ferrari stacked up amongst these three Big 10 guys.
Yeah. He's just sort of an unknown, isn't he?
Yeah, it's so crazy. Somebody was tweeting me, maybe even Chael was responding to my Hodge tweet, and he's like, people forget Fast Twitch is back. And I'm like, we don't forget he exists. We just don't know where he's at. It's been a whole presidency since he's been gone, and he hasn't wrestled the top guys. So I think you gotta have some hesitation there.
Yeah, yeah. No real litmus tests for him yet. And yeah, Kirk over Keeter by Major. Kirk, not surprisingly, doing a lot of great work on top, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad sign for Keeter. I think it's another indication of he is what he is this year. And I keep saying it, like, Keeter was a blue chip prospect, and he's still a blue chip prospect. And maybe there's not a lot of freshmen in the AA overall. However, there are a lot of top 10 pound for pound recruits from high school that go on and have immediate success. The Meyer Shapiros,
Caleb Henson.
Right. Right. So, Caleb...
Did he redshirt?
He didn't redshirt, but I don't know that he AA'd. He didn't AA. I don't think. Anyway, the pound for pound...
He did. He got fifth and then first.
Fifth and then first?
Yeah. True freshman. Yeah. True freshman fifth.
As a true, yeah.
True freshman fifth, yeah.
Anyway, my point is that people are sort of used to and fearful of, they're used to top 10 guys coming in and having an immediate impact. And they are of the opinion that we find out who they are immediately. If they're not a monster immediately, they go, uh-oh, he might not be who we thought they were. And that's fine, because there's a lot of data that says the top 10 pound-for-pound guys do immediately make their mark. But in Ben's case, it's a little different, because number one, it's at heavyweight. And number two, he was part-time. And number three, the whole weight clears out. Now there is Younger coming back. There is Gadiali coming back. But you lose Wyatt. You lose Gable. You lose Kirk. You even lose guys like Heinzelman and Colton Schultz and a couple other really seniors that give a lot of
Slavakuski.
A lot of seniors that give meat to that weight. And all of a sudden, Ben Keeter goes from this round of 16 blood round guy to fifth. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you take out all the guys that are graduating,
he's the third highest ranked non-senior right now.
Right, but then you got to put in Gadiali. Then you got to put in.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying right now,
Younger. He's probably ranked fifth, and all of a sudden you got a guy and you got a point scorer, and so I think Iowa fans should be happy with his progression or his potential going forward.
And it's hard because last year at NCAA's, I believe Kirk majored him 12-2, so it was the same result. I think both guys have gotten better. I think Kirk has gotten better, and I think Ben has gotten better. I do think it's hard, like you said, especially Younger, to close the gap on a returning national champ. It's not the easiest thing to do. And Ben was out there longer than anybody. He was out there for at least 30 minutes before the duel. just warming
Yeah.
up, going through stuff, drilling. Like he was out there for a while. He's putting the effort in. If you're an Iowa fan, I think you definitely got to be happy with him.
And he's focused and he's hungry.
Yeah,
right?
he had a. I mean, look, if you take 2 out of his last 3 matches, he beat Nick Feldman 5-4, and then he lost to Kirk, and then he beat Seth Nevels today 5-4. Like,
see, that's a good win.
It is.
That's a good win. I mean, and even the Luffman loss, with no takedowns in the match, you go close to Luffman, win over Nevels, win over Feldman, and his training cycle, he's not even a year fully training. By the time we get to, he gets through Big Tens, win or lose, he could take 7th there, and I would still call him a podium threat, a back end podium threat. And so I think his arc is a good one.
Yeah. So that was the Penn State duel. That was Penn State, Iowa. Any final thoughts on that duel?
No. I thought it was really electric. I thought it was a good night for wrestling overall. Everybody was talking about it at the local bar.
Did I see you post and delete a tweet about me celebrating? I thought I saw something, but I've been so tired. Did I see I posted I thought you posted something that I couldn't find it. I thought maybe you deleted it. I had posted Wikipedia has a page with the Penn State Iowa rivalry, and I had posted two facts. One, this is the first time since Penn State and Iowa have started dueling that Penn State has won 4 in a row, and it's also the most points they've ever scored against Iowa. The previous was last year, which was 29, and now they scored 30, and they've scored more points consecutively 4 years in a row in the duel. Couple fun facts.
Yeah. No, I don't remember. I delete a lot of stuff, but I don't remember deleting.
I thought I saw, maybe it was somebody else. I couldn't find it. I thought I saw you with a DJ Khaled popping a bottle of champagne.
Oh, yes, I did. Did I take that down?
I don't know. I couldn't find it. I thought maybe it was somebody else, or if it was you.
Yeah, I did.
What happened to it?
Popping champagne bottle. I don't know why I deleted it. I don't know what I do half the time. But I did do that. Yeah, I did say that you hacked WrestleStat.
That was funny. That was a funny one.
I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was a good night for wrestling. Everybody was talking about it. The local bars around here, they all had them on every TV. It was pretty cool. Casual guys, like friends in town that aren't diehard wrestling fans, but know that I cover wrestling. What's your pick? What's going to happen? Hey, what's the point spread? I saw the point spread. Who should you take? And so everybody was talking about it. Not only the diehards, but the general wrestling fans. So it was cool. It was a good night for wrestling. Everybody was engaged. Everybody was talking, whether it was on message boards or social media or whatever. It was cool.
It was great event. So great to be back at Rec Hall's Freddie's first duel. So that was awesome. And
that is cool.
To see him start getting excited, and he was clapping when the arena went nuts for takedowns and stuff. So it was fun. It's always great to see everybody to be in the room. So
yeah.
I was actually telling Cal I got to go back soon when they're not so busy. So many of the times I go down there lately, it's like big duels, big events. I'm like, I need to come down on a random Wednesday.
Yeah. There was another good duel going on, sort of a rivalry duel. NC State and UNC at UNC. Carolina won the first 3. It started at 133. Ethan Oakley, who's having a really good year, App State transfer, over Kyle Reen. Jaden Scott won, and Lachlan McNeil won, and that started a 3-0 UNC run. And then NC State came back. Isaac Trumbull with a pin at heavyweight to make it 16-16. Winner take all at 125. Vince Robinson beats Spencer Ward, 19-16 NC State. Fun duel.
UNC was 16.5-point underdogs.
Yeah.
That was a good cover.
Pretty fun duel. Virginia Tech 36-3 over Virginia. Latona over Cedeno, who as a 6-year senior is having a really good year. Bergen Catholic kid. Latona 5-1 over Cedeno. Henson was back. Majored Jack Joffrey 19-5. Who was Virginia's win? Oh, Nick Hamilton beat Mac Church 4-2. Wyoming over North Dakota State. South Dakota State over Utah Valley by 5. SIU beat Cal Baptist. Nebraska beat Wisconsin, but it didn't start off good. Nicola Rivera over Cale Lauritsen 8-2. No Caleb Smith. Zan Fugit beat Van D 11-1. It was Fugit early and often. And that was a major, and that was the 7 for Wisconsin, and Nebraska would win the final 8. Hardy Lovett, Antrell Taylor, Minto. Cam McDaniel had a really interesting pin with like a leg scoop, like a leg half. It was pretty cool. Stanford over Oregon State, 22-16. Ethan Stiles, 18-8 over Jaden Abbas. Stiles has been really good this year, coming off a win over Jordan Williams. Now majors Abbas. Started at 57, comes down to 49. So he's a guy to keep your eye on. CJ Hamlin beat Grigor Chalakian. 22 for Stanford, 16 for Oregon State. And then not a whole heck of a lot going on Saturday. Northern Colorado just beat Arizona State, which is sort of crazy. They matched up really well with them. But that's an interesting result from tonight. Iowa obviously beat Maryland. Bash said a little bit about that earlier. Gabe did wrestle. What else happened?
Peter beat Neville. Iowa beat Maryland 34-9. Arnold beat Jackson Smith in tiebreakers. Kennedy got the tech. Caliendo got the tech. Ethan Miller beat Estrada. Parco got a tech. Shriver got the win. Braxton Brown got the win. This WrestleStats got an issue here. They got Colin Shriver winning and losing at 33 and 41. They don't got Cal Peterson in there. They got the if they're listening, they got to fix it. It's Cal Peterson. It threw me off there. Oklahoma State beat the doors off of. I'm trying to blank.
Missouri.
Missouri. Good win for Dustin Plott. He majored Sinclair like 17-7, something like that. So good win for Dustin Plott in his final home match. Final match for him at Oklahoma State. Next 2 duels are on the road.
Yep, 36-3 for Okie State. I like some of these senior night stuff. You know, I have a soft spot for the guys that like Reese Whitcraft that just put in 4 or 5 tough years, was never a superstar, behind Dayton Fix, worked to make 25, and you know, and go out there and get a W on senior night. It's not all about the superstars, right? But Okie State with Cam Amin and Plott and Whitcraft and Serber and Hendrickson. What else happened today, boss?
I don't think a heck of a lot. Weird Sunday with football dying down. Well, no more football. And wrestling season heating up. And this week is going to be good because we're going to plan on doing a live reaction show with Bo Bassett after he makes his announcement. We have to review crystal ball updates. We got a preview. Next weekend is a big one. We're coming down the stretch here. We only got like 3-4 weekends left. And we got another big test for Josh Barr. Back-to-back after Josh Barr has number 1 Stephen Buchanan. Next week he has number 2 Jacob Cardenas. Or this week, Friday night.
Great. Put him through the fire. See where he stands. Make adjustments at Big Tens. Make adjustments at NCAAs.
Yeah. So I think that's all I got, Willie. Well,
Yeah, wild times, and maybe we'll do a show Wednesday, Thursday, previewing the upcoming week. What do we got? Man, I haven't prepared yet. I don't know what. Oh, here we go. Tuesday night, App State, Gardner Webb. Thursday, Cleveland State, Edinburgh, Rider, Lockhaven, Utah Valley, West Virginia. Friday, Lehigh, Bucknell, Michigan at Penn State. That's also in the BJC.
yep.
Minnesota at Ohio State. UNC Pitt. Nebraska, Iowa should be some good ones there, especially in the middle.
Yep.
Rutgers, Maryland, our ASU, Iowa State. Northern Colorado, South Dakota State, Oregon State, Cal Poly. Virginia Tech, Stanford. Purdue, Wisconsin, that's Saturday. Sunday, Franklin and Marshall Open. Or no, never mind. Princeton, Cornell, Rider, Bloomsburg, Oregon State, or Oklahoma State, Little Rock. Northern Iowa, North Dakota State. Oh, this is still Saturday. West Virginia, Wyoming. There's a lot Saturday.
It's a big
boy.
weekend. That's what I was saying. It's a big weekend.
Sunday, Penn, Cornell, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland, Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana, Pitt, Iowa State. It's a non-conference. It's a late non-conference duel, huh? Pitt, Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
Chattanooga, App State. Yeah. Good week of college this week.
Very big weekend. All right, that's the show. Subscribe, like,
Ben
comment,
Askren-
tell us what you think.
Ben Askren and Jaden Ironman are arguing back and forth. I think go check that out
Are
on
they?
Twitter. Yeah.
With
Should be
Twitter's
fun.
new algorithm, I can now see Ben Askren's tweets, even though he blocked me. I just can't engage with him.
He blocked you?
And I have no idea why. None. I've never said a single thing to him.
He's ducking.
So he's talking, yeah. All right, that's the show.
All right, that's the show. Go Bills.
Go Bills.